They cuffed a Navy war hero on his own boat, without asking a single question. The reason? You already know. Morning fog hangs low over the Atlantic, the kind that erases the horizon and makes every sound feel close to your ear. About 12 miles southeast of Savannah, a white patrol cutter named USCG Seaforth moves at a steady clip. The crew is up, coffee cups wedged into rail slots, radios crackling with routine chatter about buoys and weather fronts. Nothing special, until Seaman Tyler McKnight, the watch stander with binoculars glued to his face, spots a faint hull shape where none should be. He taps the deck with his boot. "Skipper, you seeing this?" he calls. Lieutenant Graham Ricks, silver bars winking on his collar, pivots. Through the fog, a modest fishing boat materializes. 42 feet of fiberglass and faded teal, drifting slow circles near a line marked restricted on their chart. Ricks frowns. "Radio it," he says. On channel 16, the call goes out. "Vessel south-southwest of buoy T9. This is United States Coast Guard Cutter Seaforth. State your name, registration, and intent." His words echo into the gray and fade away. No answer. Second hail, louder. Still nothing but gull cries. Ricks checks the chart again. "That boat's hugging a submarine test lane," he mutters. To a cutter crew, that's like parking on a runway. Procedure leaves no wiggle room. He clicks off the mic. "Prep boarding team. Helm, bring us alongside nice and easy." Engines throttle down. Prop wash licks the sea. Bosun's mate Renee Callahan swings a ladder over, boots planted and ready. McKnight shoulders a line thrower gun. Even with drills drilled into drills, everyone's pulse ticks up. Unknown contact, no reply, always a wild card. As Seaforth edges closer, the Mercy Bell's name comes into view in chipped gold paint. One man stands at the helm, black, mid-40s at a glance, posture upright, hands visible. He wears an old navy blue ball cap and a khaki windbreaker zipped to the collar. McKnight notes the calm eyes tracking them. No panic, no scramble. Still, silence on the radio makes nerves hum. Ricks cups a loudhailer. "Captain, kill your engine and prepare to be boarded for inspection." The man nods once, shuts the engine, and lets the boat settle. No argument, no shout about rights. That strikes Ricks as both convenient and, oddly, unsettling. Callahan and McKnight step over the gunwale first, sidearms holstered, but thumb straps unsnapped. "Morning, sir," Callahan says. "Name and registration, please." "I'm Leonard Trenton. Papers are clipped to the console." His voice is level, almost quiet enough to miss under the surf. McKnight studies him. There's a steadiness in Trenton's gaze that puts him on edge for reasons he can't name. Maybe it's the way the man barely blinks, like he's measured these moments before. Callahan flips through the registration. Everything looks clean. Georgia numbers current, inspection sticker valid. She glances at Ricks. He lifts a brow. Procedure says check the hull, the holds, everything, especially when a vessel ignores 2 radio calls. McKnight starts with standard queries, words rolling out sharp. "Purpose of your voyage? Anyone else aboard? Any weapons?" "Just fishing," Trenton replies, pointing to rods lashed against the cabin roof. "And just me." "Why no radio response?" McKnight presses. "Speakers fried. I heard you couldn't send back." He taps a cracked mic head resting on the dash. The explanation feels too neat, and Rick senses the same. He signals a full search. Trenton's brows knit for a second, but he gives a slight nod and steps back. Callahan reaches for cuffs. A precaution, she tells herself, nothing personal. Yet, as the metal closes around Trenton's wrists, a prickle of doubt sneaks up her neck. The man doesn't resist. He even turns to make it easier. That calm is disarming in its own right. Ricks radios Seaforth. "Boarding in progress, subject secured, commencing inspection." He hears his own voice and realizes it sounds more strained than usual. Below deck, McKnight swings open coolers and storage lockers, half expecting contraband. Maybe untagged red snapper, maybe something worse. But it's just ice, bait, and yesterday's coffee in a dented thermos. Still, the rulebook is ironclad. They keep looking. On deck, Trenton watches seagulls wheel overhead. The cuffs glint under a shy slice of sun trying to punch through the mist. He clears his throat once, low. Ricks catches the motion, wonders if they're overstepping. Procedure says no. Intuition whispers maybe. But the search is only getting started, and none of them know yet that a single database check will flip this entire scene upside down. 10 minutes stretch longer than they should, the kind of minutes where everyone starts second-guessing themselves, but nobody says it out loud. Below deck, McKnight finishes pulling open the last storage bin. More gear, more legal stuff. Still nothing. He stands there, arms hanging loose, staring at a stack of life jackets like they're supposed to give him answers. Up top, Lieutenant Ricks crosses his arms, watching Leonard Trenton with that mix of caution and discomfort that comes when your gut says one thing, but protocol says another. Trenton, cuffed and quiet, stands without complaint. No questions, no pushback, just silence. That bothers Ricks more than if the man had gotten loud. "You fish these waters often?" he asks. "Twice a month, when the weather's decent," Trenton replies. "Usually launch out of Thunderbolt. Marina manager knows me. You can call him." "I might." Ricks doesn't move. "You ex-military?" Trenton glances up. "I am." "What branch?" "Navy." Ricks squints. "You just say that, or you mean it?" "I did 22 years, retired, commander rank." That gets a small reaction from Callahan, standing to the side. She looks over like she's checking if Trenton's messing with them, but he's not smiling, not defensive, just answering, even. Like a man who's told the truth 1,000 times and is used to no one believing him the first few. Rick steps closer, eyes narrow now. "If that's true, why didn't you say something earlier?" "I wasn't asked." That answer isn't disrespectful, but it stings anyway, because it's right. For a beat, no one speaks, just the low slap of water against fiberglass. Then McKnight climbs back up. "Boat's clean, sir. Nothing suspicious. No drugs, no hidden holds, not even a spare cooler of fish." Ricks doesn't respond, just stares at Trenton's face. There's something there, something quiet but firm, that makes you feel like you're the one under inspection. Callahan shifts uncomfortably. She's starting to feel like maybe they're not the ones running the situation anymore. McKnight, trying to shake off the awkward pause, asks, "Got any ID on you?" Trenton jerks his chin toward a folded jacket on the seat. "Wallet's in there." Callahan retrieves it. Inside, Georgia driver's license, retired military ID, a faded photo of 2 kids standing in front of a Christmas tree, and one of Trenton in uniform, younger but unmistakably him. The stripes, the hat, the look. She hands the license to Ricks. "Name matches, DOB, address, all clear." Ricks doesn't say anything for a few seconds. Then he flips open his tablet and starts typing into the DHS database. Might as well verify the story before letting this guy go. Trenton turns his head slightly, looking out toward the gray line where the ocean blends into the sky. His lips are pressed tight. His jaw doesn't move, but his fingers, still cuffed behind his back, flex slowly. But just as Ricks hits search, McKnight leans over his shoulder, and what they're about to read changes everything. The screen loads. It's slow, dragging its heels through a government database like it knows what's coming and wants to make them wait for it. Then the profile pops up. Name, Leonard Isaiah Trenton. Rank, commander, retired. Service, United States Navy, 1996 to 2018. Clearance, TS-SCI. Expired. Commendations, Navy. Cross, Bronze Star, Meritorious Service Medal, X2, Combat Action Ribbon Assignment. History, USS Russell, USS Gridley, Naval Special Warfare Command, 5th Fleet Command, Bahrain. The air on the cutter feels tighter. McKnight whispers, "Navy Cross, that's like second only to the Medal of Honor, right?" Ricks doesn't answer. He's still reading the attached citation. It details a rescue mission near the Strait of Hormuz. Trenton's destroyer took fire while evacuating civilian personnel from a burning tanker. He stayed behind on deck, guiding survivors onto helicopters while the ship listed hard to port. 2 crew members went overboard. Trenton dove in, dragged them both back himself. All lived. The citation closes with, "Exhibited extreme bravery under fire and decisive leadership that saved 29 lives." Callahan mutters, "Jesus." Ricks rubs the back of his neck. The authority he carried 20 minutes ago is nowhere in his voice now. "We cuffed him." McKnight looks over at Trenton. Still standing, still waiting, not smug, not angry, just patient. Ricks clears his throat. "Let him out." Callahan steps forward without a word, unlocks the cuffs. As they fall away, Trenton rolls his shoulders once, like easing back into a familiar jacket. No complaint, no lecture. But that silence, God, it lands heavy. I apologize, sir, Rick says. It's not automatic. He means it. We should have checked sooner. Trenton turns slowly. His face is calm, but there's weight behind his eyes. You didn't ask who I was until after you assumed what I must be. The words hit like steel wrapped in velvet. McKnight lowers his gaze. He doesn't know what to say. He thought he was doing his job. Now he's not so sure. Rix tries again. We had a protocol. Radio silence, restricted waters. And that's fine, Trenton cuts in, voice even. Do your checks. Inspect the boat. That's your job. But I got cuffed before a question, before an ID, before a conversation. That part wasn't protocol. He's not yelling. That makes it worse. He's just stating the facts like someone who's had to do this before. Callahan's hands are clenched at her sides. McKnight swallows hard. Why didn't you say something about who you were? Trenton stares at him. Would it have mattered if I had? The younger man has no answer. But before anyone can speak again, a voice cuts through the tension, one they forgot was even there. From across the water, someone shouts. A woman's voice, loud, angry, and holding a phone. The screen loads. It's slow, dragging its heels through a government database like it knows what's coming and wants to make them wait for it. Then the profile pops up. Name, Leonard Isaiah Trenton. Rank, Commander, retired. Service, United States Navy, 1996 to 2018. Clearance, TS-SCI. Expired. Commendations, Navy. Cross, Bronze Star, Meritorious Service Medal, X2, Combat Action Ribbon Assignment. History, USS Russell, USS Gridley, Naval Special Warfare Command, 5th Fleet Command, Bahrain. The air on the cutter feels tighter. McKnight whispers, Navy Cross, that's like second only to the Medal of Honor, right? Rix doesn't answer. He's still reading the attached citation. It details a rescue mission near the Strait of Hormuz. Trenton's destroyer took fire while evacuating civilian personnel from a burning tanker. He stayed behind on deck, guiding survivors onto helicopters while the ship listed hard to port. 2 crew members went overboard. Trenton dove in, dragged them both back himself. All lived. The citation closes with, exhibited extreme bravery under fire and decisive leadership that saved 29 lives. Callahan mutters, Jesus. Rix rubs the back of his neck. The authority he carried 20 minutes ago is nowhere in his voice now. We cuffed him. McKnight looks over at Trenton. Still standing, still waiting, not smug, not angry, just patient. Rix clears his throat. Let him out. Callahan steps forward without a word, unlocks the cuffs. As they fall away, Trenton rolls his shoulders once, like easing back into a familiar jacket. No complaint, no lecture. But that silence, God, it lands heavy. I apologize, sir, Rick says. It's not automatic. He means it. We should have checked sooner. Trenton turns slowly. His face is calm, but there's weight behind his eyes. You didn't ask who I was until after you assumed what I must be. The words hit like steel wrapped in velvet. McKnight lowers his gaze. He doesn't know what to say. He thought he was doing his job. Now he's not so sure. Rix tries again. We had a protocol. Radio silence, restricted waters. And that's fine, Trenton cuts in, voice even. Do your checks. Inspect the boat. That's your job. But I got cuffed before a question, before an ID, before a conversation. That part wasn't protocol. He's not yelling. That makes it worse. He's just stating the facts like someone who's had to do this before. Callahan's hands are clenched at her sides. McKnight swallows hard. Why didn't you say something about who you were? Trenton stares at him. Would it have mattered if I had? The younger man has no answer. But before anyone can speak again, a voice cuts through the tension, one they forgot was even there. From across the water, someone shouts. A woman's voice, loud, angry, and holding a phone. By the time the Seaforth docks back at Hunter Army Airfield, the crew knows the clip has already gone live. It's not polished. It's not edited. It's just real. A shaky, wind-blown phone video showing a black man in handcuffs, standing calmly while 3 uniformed Coast Guard officers dig through his boat like it's a threat. Then, the same man listening quietly while they apologize. The caption reads, Retired Navy Commander Leonard Trenton wrongly cuffed. You tell me why. It catches fire. Within 6 hours, the clip has more than 400,000 views. 10 hours later, it's on the homepage of half a dozen national outlets. Leonard Trenton trends on every platform. By the next morning, a photo surfaces. Trenton, in full Navy dress whites, saluting at a funeral, medals gleaming. The comments go wild. How do you do that to a man who's risked more for this country than most of us ever will? This is what racial bias looks like in uniform. He didn't even raise his voice. That's what hurts most. The internet isn't kind to Seaforth's crew. Their faces, caught in the video, are being screenshot, dissected, debated. Some demand resignations. Others call for reform. A few defend the crew, but even those voices acknowledge what everyone sees. It shouldn't have gone down that way. Meanwhile, Trenton stays quiet. No interviews, no comments. He just heads home to his one-story house on the east edge of Savannah, where the Spanish moss hangs low and the porch creaks in the right kind of way. His phone doesn't stop buzzing. Navy buddies, old COs, even a congresswoman who once met him during a base tour in Bahrain. They all want to talk. But Trenton just sits in his garage, patching up an old fishing reel, watching the sun inch down behind the trees. Until there's a knock at the door. It's Captain Everett Sloan, district commander out of Charleston. White shirt pressed flat, face tight, eyes cautious. Commander Trenton, he says, offering a handshake. I wanted to speak to you in person, not as PR, not as damage control, as someone who wore the uniform. Trenton stands, wipes his hands on a rag, and nods once. Then speak. Sloan exhales. You were wronged. There's no other way to say it. Our training failed those men. Their assumptions failed you. But the bigger failure is that you've seen this before, haven't you? Trenton doesn't answer. He doesn't have to. Sloan's voice drops. We've issued a formal apology. There will be retraining, a full review. But I'm not here to ask for forgiveness. I'm here to say we're going to start listening to people like you, because the way we operate needs to change. There's a long silence. Then Trenton replies, Talk is easy, Captain. Change is harder. You want my help making it real? Sloan nods. Yes, sir. Trenton opens the door wider. Then let's start now. But while leadership scrambles to control the narrative, the public's already decided. This wasn't an isolated mistake. It was a mirror. 3 days later, a town hall meeting is held at the Savannah Civic Center. It's packed. Not just locals, veterans, active duty service members, even civilian volunteers who drove in from neighboring counties just to be in the room. At the front, a panel sits behind folding tables with nameplates, Coast Guard leadership, Navy liaisons, city officials, and right in the center sits Leonard Trenton. He's not wearing his uniform, just a black button-up, jeans, and that same quiet presence that made half the country pause their scroll and actually listen. A woman from the back takes the mic, white, mid-50s, Marine mom. I watched that video 5 times. I kept thinking, if that were my son or my husband and someone treated them like that after they served. Her voice cracks. How many times has this happened without cameras? There's no answer, just the sound of chairs creaking and people breathing slower. Another man stands, black Army vet, arms folded. It happens all the time, but this time, y'all got caught. Silence again. Then someone from the Coast Guard table leans into the mic. It's Ricks. He's dressed in uniform, but he looks different now, smaller somehow, more human. He clears his throat. We made assumptions based on race. That's what happened. It wasn't a mistake of paperwork or training. It was a mistake of perception. And I'm sorry. I know that's not enough. But I'm not going to hide behind a title and pretend we didn't fail. It's quiet after that, but not cold, just heavy. Then Trenton stands. He doesn't raise his voice, doesn't need to. I served this country for over 2 decades. I followed orders, I led missions, I trained officers, and I still get asked to prove I belong here. Not just by civilians, by people in uniform. He turns slightly, addressing the room. This isn't about one incident. This is about how deep the assumptions go. You train people to look for threats, and somewhere along the way, you start seeing threat in the wrong faces. We're not born with that. It's learned. which means it can be unlearned. He looks over at Rix. You want to fix this? Then stop teaching fear disguised as safety. Rix nods once. No rebuttal, just listening. The audience doesn't clap. They don't need to. The room breathes together. Later that night, a smaller clip makes the rounds. This one filmed by a local journalist. Just Trenton and a few high school ROTC cadets outside the Civic Center. One of the students, a lanky kid with braces, asks, "What kept you from getting angry, sir?" Trenton smiles a little. "I've got grandkids. Anger's easy. What they need to see is grace and power without fear." The clip gets reposted again and again. No yelling, no drama. Just a man speaking plain. And people listen. But while the online conversation burns bright, the real change is quieter. And it's only just beginning. Weeks pass, but the story doesn't fade. Leonard Trenton doesn't ask for a spotlight, but it keeps following him anyway. He turns down TV appearances, refuses to sign with any media reps, says no to every documentary pitch. Instead, he agrees to one thing: visiting training bases, Coast Guard, Navy, police departments, not as a prop, not as a guest speaker, as a teacher. He stands in front of rooms filled with young recruits, some nervous, some skeptical. And he starts each session the same way. Close your eyes. Picture a threat. Now ask yourself, who did you see? And more importantly, why? Some shift in their seats, a few scoff, but most go quiet. Because no one's ever asked them that. Not like that. He tells them what happened out on the water, not to shame, but to show. He breaks it down. What could have gone differently, what assumptions were made, and what it costs a person to carry that kind of humiliation and still hold their head high. And they listen. In Savannah, the Mercy Belle still leaves the dock twice a month, same boat, same routes. But now, sometimes, there's a kid on board, someone from the neighborhood or from one of the youth centers Trenton volunteers at. They fish, they talk, and when the kid asks, "Why did they do that to you?" Trenton just says, "Because some people haven't learned how to see beyond what they expect, but you can." Back at the Seaforth, changes take root. Quiet ones. The crew rotates through new training modules, developed with input from veterans like Trenton. Not the kind filled with buzzwords and boxes to check. The kind that ask hard questions. The kind that make people think. One afternoon, Rix visits Trenton's home. No press, no cameras, just the two of them on the porch, watching the wind move through the trees. Rix says, "I thought I knew what leadership was. I didn't. Not really. Not until that day." Trenton nods. Then it wasn't wasted. They sit in silence after that. But it's not heavy anymore. It's full. And the lesson lingers. Not in hashtags, not in trending clips, but in changed minds, changed hearts. In every young officer who learns to pause just long enough to ask one more question before reaching for their cuffs. Because dignity can be taken in seconds. But earning someone's trust back, that takes longer. That takes intention. And Leonard Trenton didn't ask to teach that lesson, but he taught it anyway. Assumptions can strip a person of their dignity before a single word is spoken, but it only takes one choice, one pause, one question to stop that from happening. If you wear a badge, a uniform, a title, wear it with humility, and never forget to look people in the eye before you judge who they are. If this story moved you, talk about it, share it. Not just online, at your dinner table, at work, at school. The next time you're about to assume something about someone, pause. Ask yourself if you're seeing the truth, or just what you've been taught to expect. Because real change doesn't start on screens. It starts in moments, small ones, just like this.